3 days ago, the sun went dark. Not an eclipse, not clouds, dark. For 6 minutes, across 17 countries, daytime turned to night without warning. Scientists are calling it impossible. Governments are calling it a glitch. But in a monastery buried beneath the mountains of Tibet, monks are calling it something else. The beginning of the end. Because 1500 years ago, a prophecy was hidden. A prophecy so terrifying that emperors tried to erase it from history. It contained one warning, written in blood on copper scrolls. When the sun sleeps while men are awake, the boundary between worlds will break. That just happened. And what came next is already unfolding. The phenomenon struck at 2:47 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on a Tuesday. London went black. Paris, Rome, Cairo, Mumbai, Bangkok, all plunged into absolute darkness while the sun blazed in the sky. Satellites captured it. Billions of phones recorded it. But here's what they're not telling you. In those 6 minutes, over 40,000 people vanished. Not died, vanished. Their clothes remained. Their phones clattered to the ground mid-call. Security footage shows them simply dissolving into shadow. And in every location where someone disappeared, witnesses reported the same thing. A sound like breathing, coming from the darkness itself. This isn't mass hysteria. This isn't fake news. This is happening right now, and it matches a prophecy that was supposed to be myth. The prophecy discovered. The prophecy wasn't supposed to exist anymore. In 642 AD, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty ordered every copy destroyed. He sent soldiers to monasteries across China with one mission: burn the Codex of Eternal Night. Historical records say they succeeded, but they didn't. One copy survived, hidden inside a copper cylinder and buried beneath the Jokhang Temple in Lhasa. It stayed there, forgotten, until 1959 when Chinese soldiers ransacked Tibet during the uprising. A young monk named Tenzin Wangyal grabbed what he could carry and fled across the Himalayas. Among the artifacts he saved was a cylinder he'd never seen before, sealed with wax and covered in warnings written in dead languages. Tenzin didn't open it. He was told by the senior lamas never to open it. The cylinder was marked with a symbol that appears in only 3 places in recorded history. Carved into the walls of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, etched into the Phaistos disc in Crete, and painted in a cave in Lascaux, France. 3 separate ancient civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, all using the same symbol. A circle bisected by a sleeping serpent. Archaeologists call it coincidence. The monks called it a seal. A warning not to look inside because what was written there was never meant to be read until it was too late to stop it. Tenzin Wangyal died in 2006 in Dharamshala, India. Before his death, he gave the cylinder to his apprentice with a single instruction. If the sun ever closes its eyes while the world is watching, open this. Not before. Only then. His apprentice, now an elderly man himself, kept that cylinder in a locked box for 17 years. Until 3 days ago. Until 2:47 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Until his phone exploded with alerts about the global blackout. His hands shook as he broke the ancient seal. Inside were 12 copper scrolls, covered in classical Tibetan, Sanskrit, and something older a proto-language linguists can't fully translate. But the core message was clear, repeated in all 3 languages like an alarm bell ringing through time. When the sun sleeps while men are awake, the boundary between worlds will break. The sleepers will wake. The threshold will open. And what was buried beneath will rise to reclaim what was taken. First, the shadows will hunger. Then, the sky will remember. Finally, the earth will split, and the ancient ones will return to restore the balance through fire and flood. This is not punishment. This is correction. Humanity was warned. Humanity was given signs. 3 signs before the sleep of the sun. The oceans will sing with the voices of the dead, the children will dream the same dream, and iron birds will fall from the sky without cause. When all 3 signs appear, the count begins. 40 days, 40 nights. Then the sun sleeps, and the old world ends. The monk read this in his small apartment in India while the news showed footage of the blackout. His blood went cold, because he realized something the rest of the world hadn't connected yet. The 3 signs had already happened. 2 months ago, marine biologists reported an unexplained phenomenon. Whales and dolphins across 7 oceans began producing coordinated vocalizations that audio analysts said sounded disturbingly like human voices. Calling it whale song was generous. Calling it human was terrifying. Then, 6 weeks ago, child psychologists from 19 countries reported a spike in children aged 4 to 9 experiencing the same recurring nightmare. A dark figure standing at the foot of their bed, whispering a countdown in a language they don't understand. Over 8 million children. The same dream, the same figure, the same countdown. And 3 weeks ago, in the span of 72 hours, 14 commercial aircraft experienced simultaneous total system failures and crashed. No mechanical explanation. No pilot error. The black boxes recorded the same anomaly in each case. Every electronic system shut down simultaneously for exactly 6 seconds, then restarted. But 6 seconds at cruising altitude is enough. The planes dropped. 1,892 people died. Investigators found no common cause, no hack, no defect. Aviation authorities are still scrambling. But here's the detail they're suppressing. In those 6 seconds of dead electronics, passengers in all 14 planes reported seeing the same thing through the windows. Not clouds, not sky. They saw stars. In broad daylight. Thousands of witnesses. Same impossible sight. The monk contacted UNESCO, the Dalai Lama's office, and finally, in desperation, a journalist named Sarah Chun who'd written about ancient prophecies. She thought he was insane, until he sent her photos of the scrolls and translations, until she cross-referenced the 3 signs, until she realized that if this prophecy was real, they were now living in the 40-day countdown. And the sun sleeping wasn't the end, it was the beginning. The prophecy specifically stated, "After the sun sleeps, the hungry time begins. Shadows will take the unmarked, one by one, then hundreds, then thousands, until the threshold opens fully and the sleepers cross over." 40,000 people vanished during the 6-minute blackout. That was the first harvest. According to the prophecy, there will be more. And each time, the darkness will last longer. 6 minutes was just a test. A stretching of muscles after a long sleep. The next sleep of the sun will last an hour. The one after that, a day. And during each blackout, the shadows will grow hungrier, and more people will be taken. But here's the part that makes this prophecy different from every other doomsday prediction in history. It doesn't just warn. It explains. Tells us what the shadows are taking people for, and why the ancient ones are coming back. What the ancient ones want. The prophecy calls them the sleepers, the ancient ones, the first inheritors. Archaeologists might call them a pre-human advanced civilization. Theologians might call them fallen angels or demons. But according to the Codex of Eternal Night, they're neither. They're us, or rather what we were before we forgot. Before the last great catastrophe 12,000 years ago that geologists are now calling the Younger Dryas impact event. A comet strike that ended the Ice Age and drowned entire continents. The prophecy claims that before this cataclysm, humanity was different, more advanced. Not technologically in the way we think of it, but consciously. We could manipulate matter with focused thought. We could communicate across vast distances without technology. We lived in harmony with the planet because we understood we were part of it, not separate from it. But a faction of ancient humans grew arrogant. They began experimenting with the boundaries between dimensions, trying to harness energy from the space between worlds. The prophecy calls this the Great Transgression. They tore a hole in reality, and through that hole something noticed us, something vast and hungry that existed in the spaces between matter, feeding on consciousness itself. The ancient humans couldn't close the rift they'd opened. The thing from between worlds began to seep through, devouring minds, turning thousands into hollow shells. In desperation, the wisest of the ancient ones performed a catastrophic ritual. They called down fire from the sky, the comet, to reset everything, to bury the rift under miles of ice and water and rock, to force both humans and the entity back to zero. Most of humanity died. The survivors lost their abilities, their memories, their connection to the earth. We became what we are now: violent, disconnected, destructive. We rebuilt civilizations, but without the wisdom we'd once possessed. And the ancient ones, those who had performed the ritual and sealed the rift, didn't die. They couldn't. They'd bound themselves to the earth itself in the ritual, becoming something between human and elemental. The prophecy says they went into the deep sleep, buried in hidden sanctuaries around the globe, waiting for the signs that the rift was reopening, waiting for humanity to repeat the same mistake. And according to the codex we have, the prophecy specifically points to CERN, the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. In 2012, scientists there smashed particles at near-light speed, recreating conditions from the first microseconds after the Big Bang. They were looking for the Higgs boson, the God particle. They found it. But according to the prophecy, they also did something else. They created microtears in the fabric of spacetime. Tiny rifts. Nothing dangerous on their own. But here's what scientists didn't expect. Those rifts didn't close. They're still there, invisible, scattered around the collision point, slowly growing. And the thing from between worlds, the thing that was sealed away 12,000 years ago, has been feeding on them, growing stronger, preparing to cross over fully. The prophecy states, when man splits the atom of creation in his arrogance, he will open the door he cannot close. The hungry ones from the space between will smell the blood of reality and come to feast. And when they are strong enough, they will put the sun to sleep so they can move freely in the darkness they prefer. This is when the ancient ones will wake, not to save humanity, but to save the earth from humanity's folly. They will return with fire and flood, with earthquake and storm, to seal the rift once more. And if humanity has grown too numerous, too destructive, too deaf to wisdom, the ancient ones will reduce us, cull us back to numbers the earth can sustain. This is not cruelty. This is gardening. Sarah Chun published her findings online. Within 6 hours, her article had been removed from every major platform. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, all gone. Fact-checkers labeled it dangerous misinformation, but she'd already sent copies to researchers worldwide. And some of them started investigating. A geologist in Iceland noticed something strange. Seismic sensors near the Vatnajökull glacier were picking up rhythmic vibrations. Not earthquakes, something pulsing, like a heartbeat. Frequency: 7 beats per minute. A marine biologist in the Mariana Trench reviewed sonar data and found similar pulses coming from the deepest part of the ocean. 7 beats per minute. A volcanologist monitoring Yellowstone reported the same thing. 7 synchronized heartbeats, coming from deep beneath the earth. Someone was waking up. Multiple someones. All around the planet. And if the prophecy was accurate, they weren't waking up to help us. They were waking up to stop us. By any means necessary. The 40,000 people who vanished during the first blackout? The prophecy explains them too. It calls them the unmarked. People who, in the ancient cosmic order, haven't earned their place. The shadows that took them weren't killing them. They were sorting them, judging them, and those found wanting were taken to the space between worlds, where the hungry ones wait. This is the part that makes the prophecy so horrifying. It suggests that consciousness survives being taken, that those 40,000 people are still aware, still experiencing, trapped in a dimension of pure hunger where entities made of living darkness feed slowly on their minds. And there's no rescue, no getting them back. Because according to the Codex, once you're taken into the between space, you become part of it. Your consciousness fragments, dissolves, becomes food. The process takes 40 days, the same length as the countdown. By the time the threshold opens fully and the ancient ones complete their awakening, everyone taken by the shadows will be gone, consumed, erased, not dead because death implies an end. This is different. This is endless digestion. And with each person taken, the hungry ones grow stronger, more able to hold the rift open, more capable of crossing over fully when the final blackout comes. The signs are accelerating. The prophecy gave a timeline. 40 days from the first sleep of the sun to the final awakening. We're now on day 4, and things are accelerating faster than even the ancient text predicted. Yesterday, the sun slept again, this time for 18 minutes, not 16, and the blackout covered half the planet. Australia, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Indonesia, all went dark at 3:15 a.m. local time. This time, 340,000 people vanished. Security cameras captured it. Dashcams, doorbell cameras, phones. One moment they're there. The next they're not. Just empty clothes and belongings. And this time something new happened. In the 18 minutes of darkness, people reported seeing things moving in the shadows. Not human things. Shapes that didn't move like animals or people. Shapes that seemed to unfold rather than walk. A traffic camera in Tokyo caught something that's now viral despite attempts to scrub it. In the blackout, you can see a busy intersection, empty of vanished people. Then, in the darkness, something tall moves across the frame. It has too many limbs. They bend in wrong directions. And where it passes, the concrete cracks, as if reality itself is straining under its weight. The video is 17 seconds long. In that time, you can hear a sound. Low, resonant, like a whale song but deeper, much deeper. Audio engineers analyzed it and found something impossible. The sound frequency is below the range of human hearing, yet everyone who watches the video reports hearing it. As if it's not a sound at all, but something directly touching the auditory nerve. Something bypassing physics entirely. The governments are in full damage control mode. Official story. Mass hysteria combined with a rare atmospheric phenomenon that caused temporary blackouts. The missing people. They're claiming system glitches, census errors, and coordinating across agencies to locate everyone. But you can't fake 380,000 people back into existence. Families are rioting in the streets. They're demanding answers. They're demanding their loved ones back. In Jakarta, crowds burned down government buildings. In Seoul, the military was deployed to control mass panic. And underground, on encrypted channels and dark web forums, people are sharing the prophecy. Millions have read it now. Millions understand what's coming. Sarah Chun managed to reach one of the monks who guards the original Codex scrolls. He spoke to her via an encrypted video call, his face grave. He confirmed that the prophecy is unfolding exactly as written. But he shared something she hadn't yet translated from the more obscure sections. Instructions. The Codex doesn't just predict the catastrophe. Provides a ritual, a way for certain individuals, those the text calls the marked, to potentially survive what's coming. Not everyone. The ancient ones aren't interested in saving everyone. But those who still carry genetic markers from the original advanced humans, those whose DNA remembers the old ways, they have a chance. The monk estimated maybe 3% of current humanity carries these markers. How do you know if you're marked? The prophecy gives specific signs. Vivid, recurring dreams of a vast library underwater. An inexplicable pull toward certain ancient sites, Göbekli Tepe, the pyramids, Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat. The ability to sense electromagnetic fields, especially near underground water. A feeling of profound déjà vu when seeing ancient symbols, particularly spirals and concentric circles. And most tellingly, during the blackouts, the marked don't feel fear. They feel recognition, as if the darkness is familiar, as if they've been there before. Thousands of people online are reporting these exact experiences. They're starting to find each other, forming groups, preparing. The ritual described in the codex is complex, but the monk simplified it. When the final blackout comes, those who are marked must go underground. Deep underground. Into caves, mines, tunnels, anywhere that connects directly to bedrock. They must carry no electronics, no artificial light. They must sit in complete darkness and recite a specific harmonic sequence. Not words, but tones. Frequencies that match the Earth's resonance. The prophecy claims this will identify them to the ancient ones as descendants worth preserving, as carriers of the old genetic memory. Those who do this correctly will be passed over when the culling begins. Those who don't will be taken like everyone else, fed to the hungry ones in the space between worlds. But here's the controversy tearing through these online groups. The prophecy also states that the marked have another choice. They can resist. They can try to close the rift themselves before the ancient ones finish waking. The Codex provides instructions for this too, but they're fragmentary. It involves traveling to 7 specific locations around the globe, all aligned to the Earth's electromagnetic grid, and performing synchronized rituals at the exact moment of the next blackout. The goal would be to generate a harmonic frequency powerful enough to seal the micro-rifts created at CERN before the hungry ones can fully cross over. If successful, it would stop the catastrophe. The ancient ones would return to sleep. Humanity gets another chance. But the stakes are absolute. If the ritual fails, those performing it will be taken first, consumed immediately, and worse, a failed ritual might accelerate the threshold opening, bringing the final catastrophe sooner. It's a choice between guaranteed survival by hiding underground or risking everything to save everyone. Sarah Chun has been contacted by 17 different groups, each claiming they have enough marked individuals to attempt the ritual. They're asking her to verify the translations, to confirm the locations, to help them coordinate. She's a journalist, not a prophet. But somehow, she's become the central figure in humanity's potential last stand. And she has 36 days to decide whether to help them try to stop the apocalypse, or tell them to save themselves and let nature take its course. Meanwhile, the scientific community is in chaos. A team of quantum physicists from MIT published a paper, quickly retracted, confirming that the micro-rifts at CERN are real and growing. They used the term vacuum decay events and warned that if these tears in space-time continue expanding, they could theoretically allow extra-dimensional intrusion. That's academic speak for something from outside our reality is coming through. NASA released a statement claiming the sun is functioning normally and the blackouts are caused by localized magnetic anomalies. But astrophysicists are leaking data showing that during the blackouts, the sun's neutrino output drops to 0. Impossible. The disappearances reveal a pattern. As more data emerges about the 380,000 people taken in the second blackout, researchers have discovered something chilling. It's not random. The hungry ones aren't just taking anyone. There's a pattern. Statisticians analyzing the demographic data found correlations that shouldn't exist. Age isn't a factor. Neither is location, wealth, or health. But psychological profiles are. Every person taken shares specific traits. High levels of chronic stress, histories of trauma, patterns of destructive behavior toward themselves or others, and notably, low scores on empathy assessments. It's as if the shadows are selecting based on the quality of consciousness. They're not taking the physically weak. They're taking the spiritually damaged. A psychiatrist in Berlin compiled data from families of the missing. In 93% of cases, loved ones described the vanished person as troubled, angry, lost, or disconnected. These were people struggling with addiction, depression, rage, or profound emptiness. People who, in the language of the prophecy, had become hollow. The theory emerging is horrifying. The hungry ones prefer certain types of consciousness. They feed on fear, pain, anger, despair. These emotions are like seasoning. The more traumatized, the more damaged, the more disconnected a person is, the more appealing they are as food. The shadows are selecting gourmet meals. This has created a dark new panic. People are desperately trying to prove they're not hollow. Meditation apps have seen a 1 billion download spike. Churches, temples, and mosques are overflowing. Therapy waitlists are months long. Everyone is trying to heal, to connect, to become spiritually whole before the next blackout. Because there's a growing understanding. You can't hide from the shadows, but you might be able to make yourself unappetizing. The prophecy supports this. It states, "The hungry ones cannot touch those who carry light within. Only the empty can be filled. Only the dark can merge with darkness." But here's where it gets stranger. A small percentage of people taken in the blackouts aren't fitting the profile. Roughly 2% were, by all accounts, good people. Happy, connected, spiritually healthy. Why were they taken? Sarah Chun found a passage in the Codex that might explain. The sleepers will also take the bright ones, not to devour, but to preserve. These will be held in the between space, protected, suspended, until the correction is complete. They are seeds for the new world. If this is true, it means some people are being saved, not consumed. Kept in stasis to repopulate after the ancient ones finish culling humanity. But there's no way to know who's being eaten and who's being saved until it's over. The next blackout is predicted to happen in 72 hours. Not by the prophecy, it doesn't give exact schedules, but by pattern analysis. The first blackout lasted 6 minutes. The second, 18 minutes. That's a threefold increase in roughly 3 days. If the pattern holds, the third will last 54 minutes and affect the entire planet. Nearly an hour of global darkness. And if the rate of disappearances scales proportionally, over 1 million people will be taken. Governments are preparing for collapse. Supply chains, communication networks, basic services, all depend on people showing up to work. If millions start vanishing every few days, civilization will crumble long before the 40-day countdown ends. Underground bunker sales have exploded. The wealthy are fleeing to remote locations. Private islands, mountain compounds, submarines converted into survival vessels. But the prophecy suggests this won't help. It states, "There is no place the shadows cannot reach when the sun sleeps. Depth of ocean, height of mountain, thickness of stone. All become doorways when the boundary fails. Only those who carry the mark, or those who have emptied themselves of shadow, will be passed over. You can't outrun this. You can't buy your way out. You either have the right genetics, the right spiritual state, or you're on the menu." The 7 locations for the potential counter-ritual have been identified by comparing the codex with archaeological and geological data. They are the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the Stone Circle at Callanish in Scotland, Uluru in Australia, Mount Shasta in California, Lake Baikal in Russia, and the Nazca Lines in Peru. These sites form a perfect geometric pattern when mapped on a globe, a seven-pointed star aligned with the Earth's magnetic field lines. According to the Codex, these locations are anchor points where the skin of the world is thin, where the old ones built their sanctuaries, where the boundary can be reinforced. Teams are forming to travel to each site. They need to arrive before the final blackout, which the prophecy places on day 40. That gives them 32 days. The ritual requires 7 people at each location, 49 total, all performing synchronized harmonic frequencies at the exact moment the sun sleeps for the last time. The Codex warns, if even one site fails, all fail. If even one voice falters, the threshold remains open. The 7 must become one voice, one tone, one intention, or the attempt will feed the hungry ones and accelerate the end. The margin for error is 0. And these are ordinary people, teachers, engineers, artists, parents, trying to coordinate a global mystical ritual to seal a dimensional rift. The absurdity would be laughable if the stakes weren't absolute. Sarah Chin has decided to help them. She's using her journalism platform to coordinate, to verify identities, to ensure each team is legitimate. She's become the unofficial leader of humanity's desperate countermove. But she's also documenting everything, recording interviews, compiling evidence. Because she understands, if this fails, if humanity ends in the next month, someone needs to leave a record. Some future species, or perhaps the ancient ones themselves, should know that we tried. That in our final days we didn't just surrender. We fought. Even if the fight was hopeless. Even if we were children playing with forces we couldn't comprehend. The governments are monitoring these groups. Some agencies want to arrest them for causing mass panic. Others are quietly helping, providing resources because even skeptics are starting to wonder, what if? What if this ancient prophecy is real? What if consciousness and reality work in ways our science hasn't discovered? What if there really are forces beyond our physics, and we've stumbled into something our ancestors understood but we forgot? The evidence keeps mounting. The blackouts are real. The disappearances are real. The final countdown begins. Day 7. The third blackout hits exactly as predicted. 54 minutes. Global. Every time zone, every continent, every ocean. The sun visible in the sky, yet no light. Satellites go dark. The International Space Station loses contact with Earth. And in those 54 minutes, 1.3 million people vanish. The shadows are becoming bolder. This time, people don't just disappear. They're taken visibly. Hundreds of videos show the same thing. In the darkness, shapes emerge from walls, from floors, from the air itself. They reach out with appendages that seem made of solidified darkness. And when they touch someone, that person dissolves into shadow and is pulled backward into nothing. The screaming in these videos is unbearable. But some people aren't taken. They stand in the darkness, untouched, while others around them disappear. A security camera in a London subway captures a crowd of 200 people. The darkness falls. Shadows move through the crowd. Within seconds, 190 people are gone. But 10 remain, standing perfectly still, seemingly invisible to the entities. When the light returns, these 10 are confused but unharmed. Researchers interview them frantically. What made you different? The answers are remarkably consistent. I wasn't afraid. I felt calm. I was praying. I was meditating when it happened. I was thinking about my daughter and how much I love her. The pattern is undeniable. The shadows take those who are afraid, those who are hollow, those who are spiritually empty. They avoid those who are filled with love, peace, purpose. It's as if positive consciousness creates a field the shadows can't penetrate. This discovery spreads instantly. Social media erupts with one message. Stay positive, Stay loving, stay connected. Don't let fear in. In the next 33 days before the final blackout, humanity has a chance to save itself not through technology or weapons, but through consciousness. Through choosing, in every moment, to be spiritually full rather than empty. The 7 teams are now in position at the anchor sites. Sarah Chun is with the team at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. She's been documenting their preparations. Each team has spent days fasting, meditating, learning the harmonic sequences from the codex. They practice the tones constantly. Ancient frequencies that resonate at 7.83 Hz, the Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural electromagnetic frequency. The same frequency the Ancient One's heartbeats are pulsing at deep underground. They're trying to match it, to become one with it, to use it to seal the rifts. Sounds insane. Probably is insane. But it's the only plan that offers hope of stopping what's coming. Meanwhile, the Ancient Ones are fully awake now. Seismic stations worldwide are recording massive underground movements. Something enormous is rising through the Earth's crust in 7 locations, matching the 7 anchor points. Geologists estimate whatever is moving is the size of mountains. Hollow mountains, with heartbeats. Governments have evacuated regions around these sites, the pyramids, Uluru, Mount Shasta, Lake Baikal. But the teams performing the ritual refuse to leave. They're staying until day 40, until the final moment. They know if these beings fully emerge before the ritual can be completed, it's over. The Ancient Ones will collapse civilization within hours and reduce humanity to pre-industrial numbers within weeks. The prophecy's endgame is clear now in the final passages Sarah has translated. When the sleepers rise, they will first silence the machines. All that humanity has built on false power will fail. Then they will open the sky, and the fires will fall. Then they will open the earth, and the waters will rise. They will reshape the world as it was before, when balance ruled and humanity knew its place. The count of humans will be reduced to 1 in every 1,000. The chosen 1,000 will remember this correction. They will rebuild with wisdom. They will teach their children the old ways. And they will guard against the arrogance that opens doors better left closed. 1 in every 1,000. Out of 8 billion people, only 8 million will remain. That's the Ancient One's plan. A 99.9% reduction. The math is staggering. It's not just a catastrophe. It's an extinction-level correction. And according to the prophecy, the Ancient Ones don't see this as evil. They see it as gardening, as pruning a species that has overgrown its bounds and is destroying the planet. From their perspective, humans are an invasive species, and they're the ecosystem's immune response. We're not being punished. We're being balanced. Day 15. Another blackout. 2 hours this time. 4.7 million people taken. Cities are emptying. Those who can are fleeing to remote areas, though it won't help. Those who can't are huddling together, forming communities based on shared spiritual practices. Temples, churches, meditation centers have become refugee camps of consciousness. People are learning that survival might not depend on what you have, but on who you are, on whether you've done the internal work to fill yourself with something besides fear. It's the strangest apocalypse in history. No zombies, no nuclear war, just darkness, shadows, and a species being judged by forces it forgot existed. The teams at the anchor sites report something new. They're having synchronized visions. All 49 of them, in 7 different locations, are dreaming the same thing. Vast beings made of stone and light, rising through the earth. Eyes that are caverns, mouths that are canyons. These are the Ancient Ones. And in the visions, they're speaking. Not in words, but in feelings, concepts that bloom directly in the mind. The message is simple. You were warned. You were given signs. You chose arrogance over wisdom. Now you will learn again what you forgot. Only through loss will you remember value. Only through silence will you hear truth. We do not hate you. We are you. We are what you must become again. Day 28. 12 days until the final blackout. The sun is sleeping for 6 hours at a time now. Half the day is normal. Half is darkness filled with hungry shadows. 20 million people have been taken so far. Governments have collapsed in 70 countries. The internet is failing as infrastructure crumbles. But the teams at the anchor sites remain. They're ready. They've mastered the harmonic sequences. They're spiritually prepared. They're waiting for day 40, for the final sleep of the sun, for their one chance to either seal the rifts and stop the ancient ones, or fail and watch humanity be reduced to remnants. Sarah Chen's final broadcast goes out on day 39. She's standing at Göbekli Tepe, the oldest temple on Earth, built 12,000 years ago by the civilization that came before. She speaks directly to the camera. Tomorrow, the sun will sleep one final time, and it may never wake again. 49 of us are going to try something impossible. We're going to sing reality back together. We're going to attempt a ritual that hasn't been performed in 12,000 years. We might fail. We probably will fail. But we have to try, because the alternative is watching our species be erased. To everyone listening, if the darkness comes tomorrow and doesn't end, don't be afraid. Fill yourself with love. Think of what matters. Become spiritually full. The shadows can't take what isn't hollow. This is not the end of humanity. It's the correction. It's us remembering what we forgot, that we're not separate from the earth. We're part of it. And when you're part of something, you don't destroy it. You honor it. We forgot. Now we remember, even if it costs us everything. Day 40. The sun rises normally. For 6 hours, the world holds its breath. Then, at exactly 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, the sun closes its eyes. Darkness falls across the entire planet. And this time, it doesn't feel temporary. It feels final. In 7 locations around the globe, 49 voices begin to sing. A frequency, a tone, ancient and precise. They're singing to the earth itself. And deep below, the ancient ones pause in their rising. They're listening. The prophecy's final words echo in Sarah's mind as she sings. If the children remember the song, the parents may choose mercy. If the tone is pure, the threshold may yet be sealed. But if fear enters even one voice, all is lost, and the correction proceeds. She sings. They all sing. And in the darkness, something vast and ancient decides humanity's fate.